Before we get started with this week's episode of For the Taste, wanted to make sure you guys were aware on the forthetasteshow.com website, we have merchandise giving money back to a good cause to be able to provide funding for important social and economic changes within a lot of the cities that we're seeing impact in. We all need to do our part to be able to make this world and this country, more importantly, that we live in, a better place. Also, we wanted to give a shout out to everybody that is a father on this particular week. Without these dope fathers that are doing impact in their children's lives, we would have a next generation that would have no idea how to be able to make our world and our country better. To you all, I want to say personally, I appreciate y'all. Continue to fight the good fight. Be there for these children. And with that, on to this week's episode with Mr. Quincy Branch.
Dr. Duncan, how are you, sir?
Maintaining best we can nowadays. You know how it goes, man.
Yeah. Oh, no. I know somebody like yourself what do you say? You're thriving, not just surviving in these times.
I would 100% agree. That's just kind of how I brought up. But just, it's been an interesting year from start to finish. So.
I can only imagine, sir. and here we are only halfway through.
Yeah, man. How's things been your way?
Honestly, can't complain, man. First and foremost, all the important things are good.
Right.
And, family is good and healthy. Kids are great.
Kids are growing almost. It seems
on
like
the business side, we're probably right now in the whole weathering our storm part of it. After we then rebounded and realigned ourselves and changed stuff around, but just sort of weathering the storm of it, how it's affecting all of our customers. Because the business, it really, we get affected because other people that we insure get affected. And unfortunately for us, I was telling people we field in calls that people are either canceling coverages or going out of business and doing whatever. Nothing that we did. Okay, it's just the economics are going around or not paying premiums, and I think we're doing a good job of weathering it. It's one of the things, sir. We just got to go through it, boss. We got to keep walking.
With the insureds, what's the conversations that you're having with them, not just yourself, but like with your team? I mean, because obviously nobody could understand that there was going to be a pandemic that shut down a lot of small businesses, and then you compound that with them having that break out of the holiday season, and then now having the pandemic, and now we have the disruptions that are going on out in the streets, and a lot of the areas are in areas where we have small business owners that are just trying to, they were trying to rebound from being shut down for months, and now they actually have these political protests that are going on in different parts of the country. Is there conversations that your team are having just to try to keep them understanding that there are going to be options for them? Because you did bring up that there's some folks that are just canceling coverage, and if they don't know if they're going to open their doors up, that's understandable. But the ones that are kind of on the fence, just uncertain of what's going on, like how is an organization, an operation like yours, like have those conversations with the insureds?
Well, I think for us, and maybe because I wear that dual hat of obviously being a business owner, but then also, running an insurance agency. Man, I had those conversations with our team early on after we got through our whole logistical changes of going remote and everything else. But for the most part, man, we become, and I say this very loosely because I don't want to disrespect that profession. We sort of become like crisis intervention center in a sense. Like the training we've done with the team, like I was telling them, man, when you call, truly mean it when you say you ask a business owner or that HR or that finance person, how you doing? How's it going? And truly just listen, because now we can really talk through, and we're probably all in the same, we're all in the same storm, which is the phrase I've been using lately. We're all in the same storm. We just may be in different boats. And so, but just because your boat is bigger or smaller doesn't mean that the storm is not hitting you just as hard as it's hitting me. So now I think it's actually helping us because now we're having real conversations and we're building stronger relationships, if that makes sense. We truly are just having risk management conversations with, clients. And to your point, like, okay, like we had a client literally, man, down here in downtown. It wasn't their building, but literally the building right next to them during the protest caught on fire. And immediately, man, the next day, the guy called Brenda, hey, send her a text. She showed it to me. I just want to know, what do I do if this happens, blah, 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 blah. We're having those type of conversations, like how to be prepared, but at the same time, these are some of the things that are going on. But I think overall it's making us better because it's making, us smarter about coverages, but it's just making us more real because we're just having real conversations now.
And even though there's going to be some folks that unfortunately are going to have to shut down during this time, but hopefully they will have an opportunity to rise back. You might lose some because they're closing up their doors. These are the moments where you show team versus just your run-of-the-mill hack because there's so much volume out there. They can basically just talk real fast and get an account of the books. Insurance comes down to risk management, understanding your client, and actually showing them that you're human and walking through situations with them. If you can do those things, you're going to have a high retention rate. And more importantly, you're going to do your job that you signed up to do, being being a producer and providing insurance opportunities for people.
Come on, man. Amen. So I mean, yeah, yes, sir. I should have recorded that one. You said that really good.
It's okay. It'll be recorded, and then we'll just end up sending it over to you for a small snippet, so you can have that as far as the benefits of what your branch benefits
Now,
consultant do.
right. I need to replay that one because for sure, man. And that's really truly, man, what is boiling down to. And I think for us, like I said, it's tough. And don't get me wrong, man, it's tough to have those kind of phone calls. And what we've been doing is we've been tracking it internally. Those clients that are closing due to specifically to COVID. And what I've been doing as the agency owner, man, I've been calling and contacting those people personally. So I reached out to those businesses and said, hey, look, I know you emailed XYZ, but just want to let you know that, hey, we understand. To your point now, just saying, okay, but if something changes, just know that we're here, and we'll be here for you. So call us back. And man, the overwhelming responses I've gotten from that have been refreshing and amazing, short of amazing. That people just, hey, you get it, and again, I can speak that language with them. So hopefully it'll play off in the long run. But to your point, man, I think that's what we got to do. Our retention is our retention is no fault of ours. Right now, if somebody calls and say, okay, I'm just not opening my business back up. Okay, no fault of ours. We're here for you, sir. Just know, and we've been very intentional about being, what do you want to call it? I subscribe to that theory, sir, and I just believe, that where much is given, much is required, and not that we haven't had our own challenges from
Yeah.
this, but we've also partnered with other people in the community with masks and supplies and other stuff, and just with the local chambers. We've done our part to give back as much as we can during all of this, because I just think, man, at this point, this is to me where a true independent agent shows their value and their worth.
I mean, that's all quality content to end up hearing. Not only did you express what it is that you do as a business owner, but if anybody's listening, he also gave you a gem to let you know that he respects the Marvel comic universe, because he hit you with the Uncle Ben from Spider-Man. With great power comes great responsibility, which is the God's honest truth. That situation that you looked at, break it down into layers. Like, you say that yourself, you make the calls, that you have the discussions with your team, how to, in your way, crisis mitigate those situations, and then how to keep your insureds at least understanding that there's going to be something for them on the downline, even if it's not exactly their doors opening back up. But if there's something that actually happened with their business and you can find a way, you will help them make a way. There's some parts in there that they teach you, but then there's some parts that seem like were integrated in you, because with Quincy Branch being part of his own operation, you did come from a man that was in the game too. So with your father, Aubrey, being in the business, are those certain parts that you saw him do and kind of emulated from his style, just that consumer awareness and being integrated with the folks? Like, that's something that I always respect of your old man. I have to assume that some of those things just kind of bled into how you do your business practices now.
Man, exactly. And I use a saying that he always, and even to this day, he always says, as an agency, we want to keep our fingers on the pulse of our client. We never want to get too big or even too small or whatever the case may be. That, like I say again, we lose sight of these clients. So to your point, exactly, man, being able to touch and reach those clients are just things that I just saw him do over the years. The good part about it is, in my early beginnings, I was able to attend meetings and go with him and just see how building real relationships, not just relationships, was important. And so, now, people look at you beyond just, oh, that insurance policy that went up $10. And so I think, going back to it, man, that to me, what COVID in some sense has done is really just hit a reset button, not only for businesses, but for people, for families, for this country. In a sense, you get back to basics. And so I think some of those core basic things, making sure people are seen, valued, and heard, don't go away. I don't care how much technology you have. I don't care, whatever the case, those things don't go away. If you are a person or a business that naturally has that, then, and it's genuine, I'm sorry, and it's got to be genuine,
Right.
then it'll show. And so, to your point, I agree 100%, man. This is me. This is not something that they had to come and say, oh, well, Quincy, we need you to do this. No, this was just, that was my natural instinct to say, okay, this is what we're going to do as an agent.
That's a brave position to have, and not brave because it's something that's unique. Brave because that's something that's already ingrained in you, that kind of level to want to be out there and show that this is the way that I was raised how to do business. And it's the proper way to be able to get people through crisis, regardless if it's high tides or low tides. The way that you handle yourself in this moment, especially on the low tide, when it comes back on the high tide, you're going to already be coasting because you've done what's necessary to be there with them people. And not everybody's built like that. So obviously you get some from your folks, you build some on your own, and then you get those experiences because you've worked through the industry. You've seen it on both sides. You've seen it from the grunt end of it to where you are now, being a thriving entrepreneur and having national exposure from what you do. So it shows, man. There's not a lot of folks in our industry, regardless if they're black men or younger professionals, just in general. Like for what we do as an
Mhm.
industry, there's a lot of folks that don't necessarily, as we say, play the game, the right way. So I respect you on that, man.
Yes, sir. Appreciate it, man. Thank you for the encouragement.
Yeah, man. See, you're a little bit different as far as with your experiences in the industry too, because you made it a point to be a part of the conversations in the political and the law structuring of certain things in our industry, not only from a local and state level, but even on a national level. Where are you currently at with that now?
Oh well, one, I really do believe, like I say again, first and foremost, that man, if you're going to be involved in any industry, I don't care if it's insurance or whatever, I mean, you got to have a seat at the table, and you got to be in a place and space where you can really truly affect change, or at its least know what's going on. I just think that overall makes you a better just business person or a person in general. But from the insurance standpoint, that was one of the things I just thought and saw that was key. Like, okay, insurance affects so many different aspects of life. Okay, let's make sure that when we're doing certain things, I can have a seat at the table, I can have a voice to make sure that whatever's being heard. But where I'm at today with things, I got the pleasure of serving currently on the Big I, the IIABA's Government Affairs Committee. So this is I think I'm in my second year doing that. So we're dealing with things, and we're sort of navigating and giving counsel on a national level with our association. But then I also sit on the Federal Advisory Committee of Insurance, and that's a federal appointment that I got under the Obama administration. That we communicate and we advise directly with FIO. So I'm sitting at the head of the table with the heads of the Marshes, the Aons, the directors of insurance of the different states and divisions. So again, being a part of the conversation to hopefully affect change that will be, at my humble opinion, from a legislative standpoint, that's the change that really sticks. And I know we got some civil unrest and things going on right now, and that's something that I really feel passionate about. That okay, we that and all that's needed, but in conjunction with that, we also need legislation change. Things that okay, whether I'm here 20 years from now, laws that make things effective for future generations. So I think it's important.
I would agree. And just to see the evolution of you getting from the state level to now being on federally appointed positions, it's a beautiful thing to see. Not only personally, but obviously professionally. I have to make sure that I share in this conversation. My folk and Quincy's folk did business dealings. We have known around each other for a few years, and then it so happened
Yeah.
that I was at a function for the state association in Nevada, and we were up in Lake Tahoe, Incline Village. You had been designated one of the many of honors that you've received during your path in the industry. And everybody standing up, and there's the cocktail hour. And folks coming up like, congratulations on, where you at in your position, da da da. And it took about two or three times to recognize, like, oh, they think I'm Quincy. And I remember that was like one of the first things I said to you when I, finally shook your hand when we was up there. And, to know in those moments there when it was a moment of just, laughter and conversation to show the impact that you've been able to have since that time. Because we're in 2020 now. I want to say that was like 2014, somewhere around that time. And to see where you've
Yeah,
gone in that point, that's crazy.
man. Like we getting old, man. That was a long time ago.
Yeah. Yeah. We was 30 somethings at that point.
Definitely.
But still, in our industry, we're still considered some of the younger blood, which kind of brings to another topic I wanted to bring up, that a lot of our folks that are in areas, the option for them to have people that either look like them or at least can talk the vernacular of how they grew up is going to be key, because some of these folks are still going to be business owners. Some of these folks are still going to at least be homeowners, God willing. They're going to at least have a car as long as they can get one and have the opportunity to provide for one. Like they're still going to have a need to talk to somebody in our industry. And
Hmm.
if we're having an era of graying out, as they like to say, if it's not the independents such as yourself that are keeping that root to the community, some of them unfortunately are being bought out by larger funds, and that's
Hmm.
changing the conversation in some of these local areas. Thoughts on how to be able to keep your roots in some of these cities, knowing that our industry is a gray industry, and then some of the opportunities that you think we might have to bring younger people into the industry to make them see that we're young folks that got in relatively young, and it's done well for both of us. I would.
Well, see, I think you raise a very interesting point, a great point. And I think one on the business side, people like myself, that are agency owners and other my colleagues, one, man, we got to be intentional. And when I say intentional, intentional about one, as a business owner, I'm all about green. So let me be very clear about that. But at the same time, I do know, okay, I'm an African American minority owned, business. So I have, and this is me personally, I'm not saying anyone else have to have that charge. I hold it in high regard that, okay, I have to ensure that the communities of color are educated and are served in a professional manner when it comes to financial and insurance and risk servicing, making sure that our communities understand the benefits of life insurance, making sure that our community, communities of color businesses are treated well and have proper coverages when it comes to businesses that they own. Because I think the biggest thing for me when it comes to the communities of color is that insurance is an avenue that shouldn't be looked at as an expense. It should be looked at as an avenue to protect your assets. And so a lot of businesses that you can't afford to have that kitchen fire, not have coverage and you don't know how to replace that. So it's really all about educating the value of insurance and not just looking at insurance from a standpoint, oh, well, I got to pay this or oh, it's required. No, how do you really cover yourself? Not when that if that event happens, but when it happens. So I think that that's one part. Then I think too, you say, but about the profile, I man, the industry itself has had that stigma of saying it's what is it, pale, male, and stale. And so I think also as a point of intentionality, it in these times maybe a perfect time of that typization of that we gotta ensure that we're out there showing our voice. Because I think, man, the insurance industry, and you've been in the service, so you know it, it's so big, first and foremost.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just, oh, selling insurance policies, or it's not, oh, just not just being an actuary. There's so many different aspects to it that can encompass insurance, and it's all about exposure. So how do we go in to communities, schools, whatever the case may be, and continue to create that platform and show that, oh, hey, yeah, that, I'm just being very candid. Okay, yeah, he doesn't dribble a basketball or he doesn't do this or do that. He's in a professional setting, but it's insurance. What is that all about? And so from that, I personally, again, thinking that next generation needs to see that. So I feel it's important. I do, give back into our association through invest or through meeting with different young folk. I think that's important. And also I think it's important to meet them where they're at. I've had opportunities where I've spoken at schools and done things of that nature, and on purpose, CJ, I don't go in a three-piece suit. I may go in a nice button down, some jeans and some Jordan, because that's what resonates with those kids. And like, oh, okay, well, oh, he got J's and blah 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 blah. And like, to your point, he looks like me, he speaks like me, but also he speaks intelligently, but he speaks like me and he can speak to what I'm going through. Oh, and he's successful. And I tell people all the time, insurance is a great rewarder for the time you put into it. You work hard, your efforts can be rewarded. And so, I have a personal mantra with that, personal touch with that, because I'm even doing that with my own two kids. My son is turning 17 in August, and my daughter be 13 this year, and he's getting ready to go to college. And so, I've also just been showing him over the years that, hey man, look, insurance, this business is what put those shoes on your feet, food on the table. You seen your dad. I've never punched a time clock, probably 20 plus years now. Every time you have a function or your sister has a game or whatever the case may be, I'm there. I can move my schedule around and do certain things. It has its benefits. And I think it's just important of us to, as people of color, to make sure we get out into the communities and just show that there's another way or there's another option, if that makes sense.
Makes 100% sense. And something to backtrack on, when you go into these outreach programs with the youth and you're dressing similar to where they can see that it's not somebody that's overbearing or overqualified, it's somebody that came through that same channel. And like I said, you having the gear on, having the J's, you can even tell them, like, I insure my J's. Like, that's part of the importance of having insurance. There's some people that do that.
Exactly.
It's just so important. And we've been places and we've had conversations in different situations where we talk about the lack of seeing folks similar to you in the space. And it's not because there's not enough talent. In a lot of ways, as you said, it's because they haven't seen anybody be able to do it, or at least guide them to say that this is something that can provide you those opportunities. I mean, when I got in and you were around that same, time as far as really getting into it, we were truly in the minority. And in a lot of ways,
Mm-hmm.
folks kind of looked at it as, why are you doing that? Ain't no money in that. That's some, it's lame and because, it's only these
Mm-hmm.
people that are doing it. One of the biggest things that you brought up is key. overall, especially if you do it from the agency perspective, you do it the right way, you can be where you need to be, and you can be where you need to be for your people, and not have to sit here and put your time in, or restructure something. For folks that have families, I mean, that's probably one of the greatest dynamics, it would seem like, to being in this environment that we're in when it comes to being a risk manager, just because you get to create your time. And that's with anything that you have that spirit of doing it for yourself, is it helps you to be able to put the work in on the front end, and then as you build your experience out, you can fill your life in around your business, and people understand that and they respect that because
Mm-hmm.
you've given them your time already. Discussing as well that educating our brothers and our sisters that are small business owners. Salute to my guy that does the collabs for the Taste clothing. He is a small business owner, veteran, was in there this past weekend, going through orders, having a conversation about things. And to not get him too far in the books, this is recorded, there was an incident that happened, and just to sit there and talk to him and kind of like run him through not only the liability of what his coverages could end up being, but more importantly, like the things that he has between his home and his business,
Mm-hmm.
and how to be able to protect those things, and where the umbrellas come in at the homesteads.
Mm-hmm.
And we're just talking to him. In a lot of ways, I'm talking to him, making it layman enough to where he gets it. And somewhere in that conversation, you almost kind of do that step out of body experience, like Doctor Strange. Damn, that's two Marvel comic references in this conversation. Step out of your body a little bit like Doctor Strange, and you can see like the reaction of those moments right there always get me excited about what we do, because we found it a way to make something that people were afraid to actually talk about, be it life, be it health, be it property, be it casualty,
Mm-hmm.
and made it, quote, cool. That finesse is amazing to be able to do. I want to be able to share those kind of experiences on how I journey my way through the industry, as well as I'm seeing what you're doing. That's what's important. And that right there helps people, regardless of what color they are, see that this is an industry people of our color can thrive if we take the opportunity.
Yes, I couldn't agree more, man. And I think you said something that was just so key of making this industry real to people. And CJ, that's really important because everybody is at a different level. And like I said again, business owners, whatever. And to your point about talking about the commercial side, now I have a personal endeavor, especially around life insurance in our community. And not to say that it's bad or whatever, but it just really just pains me when I see that, okay, someone passes and now we got to do the car washes and everything of those natures to
Right,
ensure that we, get enough money to put those people away properly.
right,
When, for small amounts of bucks a month or whatever the case may be, and proper planning, you can put a very inexpensive plan together, but actually it's helping you going forward, because that's probably one of the biggest things, especially in our communities. We talk about it, that always having roadblocks or step backs. And so and death is one of those, because okay, someone dies, you got to go through that grieving process, but then now on top of paying for their burial, whatever other debts they may have had or whatever other income that you may have lost from them passing away, again, using that life insurance policy not as an expense but as a vehicle to say, okay, hey, we were able to put XYZ away, but now we do have something extra to now help us move forward and plan better and use that in spite of or in the loss of that particular person. So to your point, man, being able to make that realization conversation real to people at their level, I think is important. And again, coming from someone that again looks like them, talks like them, and that can probably share in the real life experiences that they have probably shared in is also key.
absolutely. There's no greater appreciation of the knowledge and the skill set that we've put together over these years than when you go into a board meeting on Wilshire Boulevard in LA, to going to somewhere over in a legislative house over on the East Coast in Washington, or just being in somebody's wood shop out here in North Las Vegas, and being able to get all three of those different environments to understand what it is that you're saying to them, to be able to respect what it is that you're saying to them, and to actually move with some kind of need and necessity of what you're saying to them. Not everybody can do that. And that has nothing to do with a sales development, because that just enhances the salesman. There's only a select amount of people that can see the world that way, those kind of conversations. And it's not coding. It's just knowing how to be able to move to make people understand what it is that you're trying to get across. And
Mm-hmm.
it's a rarity, and it's unfortunate. But here's the thing that I would say, it's not a sole rarity where it's rare to find. It's just a rarity in our industry, is because a lot of folks aren't going to look for that type of opportunity. People that are out there that can bring that kind of talent to them. So as much as us, the men that are in these positions now that are of black and brown descent, we have to do our best to keep that flag waving, that we are proper representations of what you can do and do it better, because the prior generation is always supposed to do the next thing better. On the other side, the folks that have, quote, seats at the table, Y'all got to add another seat.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you don't, the unrest that you see and all these other things around the world, it will get to the tables of insurance and financial services, because that's what backs a lot of the things in this country. And that's the funny thing that a lot of folks don't get, that this country is built on somebody saying, all right, we got you just in case something happens.
Yeah, yeah, and man, it's funny you say it that way, but I love it because like I say that's basically what insurance is: piece of paper or carrier saying, okay, yeah, I got you when something happens.
Now, to give it a little bit of a lighter combo, I'm going to go back to your Jordans. Give or take, how many you think you own?
All right, now that's a very touchy subject because
Oh, boy.
my kids and I we sort of have this like shoe addiction right now,
Okay.
and my daughter is Air Force Ones, my son is sort of a combination of different types. And I'm a Jordan man. So right now, with this last pair that I just got a few weeks ago, I think I'm up to 10.
Okay. All right.
So not bad.
No, no, I was expecting a number way higher than that, the way that you was starting to preface it. Oh, wait, hold on. With the Air Force Ones, though, does it make you feel a certain kind of way? Because you did joke that we were getting older, but does it make you feel a certain way that your daughter's wearing a shoe that was popular when we was like in our teens, and that they were making songs about them, and now folks is running them back again?
Man, it's utterly amazing how things are all cyclical and how they come back around. And you try to explain that. I have these conversations with my kids all the time of how nothing you guys are doing is really new.
Facts.
Like it's just a remix to something that was already being done. But no, for them, it's just nope, no, daddy, this is new. Blah 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 blah. Like long story short, we were having a drive and artist came on. I won't say the name, but then I was like, well, who is this guy? And blah blah blah. And I was like, well, and I just made the reference. I was like, well, it's no better than Tupac. And me and my 12-year-old daughter got into a 20-minute conversation how this rapper is better than what Tupac was. And I'm like, why am I having this conversation with a 12-year-old? So same thing with shoes though. It's like, hey, I'm more of the classic guy, but to your point, yeah, it's funny how this stuff comes around. But then again, it hurts how it can make the same shoe that was made, back when I was 18 years old, but it costs like 30% more.
I had those moments of nostalgia. That's part of the journey of where you want to see some rewards of the hard work that you put in. Everybody's got their own levels of what they're willing to put that money into. Occasionally it's shoes, and it's not a certain brand of shoes, but it's shoes that I tend to remember along my journey of life. I was taking a look for Reebok pumps. Salute to D Brown. He made you feel like if you put them pumps on and pump 4 times, you'd be able to dunk and dunk covering your head. Man, I remember BP got me a pair of those, and I was so happy. And I knew what the sticker price was, because I had to make sure I basically did my allowance work to get that money back.
Mm-hmm.
Go look for them Reebok pumps right now. It's nasty how much they cost at this point.
Yeah.
But we're the people that have that kind of income. They look at it, the disposable or the discretionary, where you can go back and relive your youth. That's why so many movies now are reboots, because they don't need to make anything new, because the new kids, they don't necessarily care, because they don't know that there's nothing really better. So they don't have to really put development into the stories. You can just take some old stuff and then put a little sprinkle to it. The one thing I do not want to see come back, and a lot of things are coming back, I do not want to see any of our brothers and sisters rolling through the street, if you are younger than 40 years old, with a Jerry curl.
Oh, okay. Ditto to that. Ditto to
I
that.
say that because I had the gym that I go to, there's a Dollar General right next to it. I'm walking through aisles, and I see, like, almost like that, oh, behind plastic, a white bottle, blue labeling. So immediately it's going to make you stop. S curl.
Oh, yeah.
And I took a picture, man. I took a picture, and I haven't posted or anything yet, because I just wanted to hold on to it, just to hope that I saw somebody out in the streets actually with a Jerry curl, and just would assume that's where they got those last 2 bottles, are from that Dollar General. I hadn't seen a Jerry curl bottle, like a true S curl moisturizing white blue bottle, in decades, man.
Oh man,
Took me back.
definitely. But I'm laughing. Really, I'm also laughing because when you talk about things that come back, and I'm just thinking about and I'm waiting with anticipation. I hope they do it well. But when Coming to America 2 comes back out, so it says coming out sometime this fall. I hope they do it justice. But then, as you talking about Jericho, I just kept thinking Soul Glow.
Yeah, yeah. And what's going to be the callback to that? How you going to have Eric LaSalle wear the Soul Glow Jerry curl in that movie? I'm a fan typically of sequels and reboots, but there's certain ones that you got to leave on the shelf. And Coming to America seems like one you need to leave on the shelf. If Eddie wanted to do a movie from the 80s and run it back for me, give me a Golden Child Part 2. I want to see what happened to the kid now that he's an adult. Yeah.
Right.
Hell, give me another Metro. That movie was trash, but at least you can tell the story of him being a cop in the city of San Francisco, and you can see if his little baby dreads grew into full dreadlocks. Like, give me that. Oh, speaking of comedy, though, did you have a chance to check out the Dave Chappelle Netflix presentation on YouTube, the 846?
No, man, but someone posted. I saw a snippet of somebody post on social media, and that's how I saw it, honestly. But I had heard about it, but I wasn't aware of it, and that's I just saw it like a couple of days ago.
Yeah, the symbiotic nature of the numbers that were used and the unfortunate happenings that have been going on in our streets, that's amazing. And that whole talk we talk about with evolution and seeing people grow. I always looked at Dave Chappelle as being funny. What I look at Dave Chappelle here now is being, in a lot of ways, our Dick Gregory of this generation.
Yeah.
And that's no knock on the Chris Rocks, the D.L. Hugleys, because there's only a short list of comedians that I'll actually give my time anytime I see something drop into my mentions or my subscriptions. But Dave is on a lane here now where gave you content that you needed to hear, tried his best to not make it too dark, but he knew he wasn't telling jokes. And even in that bit, he brought up, like, I got some pee jokes I can tell, but I think this is more important. And people laughed at that and they kept going. Again, that's a very rare art. It's necessary for folks to speak up on those things. Dave's done a great job about it. His last 2 or 3 stand-ups since he's came back off the hiatus, it hasn't just been joke. It's been medicine with the candy. And again, that's why I enjoy listening to Rock. I enjoy listening to DL, because they give you the medicine with the candy, and that's the way to be able to get folks to actually pay attention that typically wouldn't pay attention to what's going on in the world.
Come on, man, preaching. Like I said, man, we owe it to ourselves, and like I said, we know we have a platform, but everybody has a platform, and you owe it to, I just call it like it is, man. You owe it to us as a generation, and owe it to us as a people to use your platform. I love what you said, to give some medicine with the can. Like, even I go back to the old days, we had to take that Robitussin and other stuff. Okay, yeah, you're gonna drink that, but then you drink some Kool-Aid right after. You do something to make it palatable. But at the same time, you took something to take care of your body, and I just think that's so important. And to me, when I saw that Dave Chappelle, man, I was just like yeah, dude, Dave is on the level, and it's almost like brilliance in a sense. Like you are beyond comedy right now, sir.
It's hitting at a certain point in time where people are at home, so the impact of when it's being put out there and published, people are retaining it and seeing it quicker. And a lot of that has to do, unfortunately, with, especially in our state where we're still in phase 2 with people being locked down and not everybody getting back to work, but also companies having to refigure their game and have people work from home. Now, if I have to take it back to you being a proud and well-handling business owner, your thoughts, because you brought up that your team had to restructure and recalibrate to work from home. What are your thoughts not only in our industry about the telecommuting experience for producers and for insurance people? Do you think that this wave is going to continue with even some larger businesses?
Honestly, I do. CJ, I do 100%. And I'll just give you, for us, an example. You know our office. We were not a remote office. We were the brick and mortar. Hey, come to the office 5 days a week, and we have remote capabilities. But we were discussing going down that road, but we did. So when COVID happened, really, man, it pushed us down a road that we were just trying to take a casual stroll down. And but when COVID happened, we started the full-fledged sprint like a dog was behind us. Within like a week's time, our entire office went remote. From there, okay, we set up systems. People had equipment. But now on the flip side of things, like for us personally, man, we're to keep our numbers down and keep people limited. We're on a schedule right now where we got a Monday, Wednesday schedule and a Tuesday, Thursday group. So we got half our team comes in on Monday, Wednesday, half of them come in on Tuesday, Thursdays, and Fridays is the day that the office is open for anybody that wants to come. But most of the time, people just work from home. Even though we're in phase 2 of things, I've already told our executive team that'll probably be something that we keep for the rest of the year, if not longer, because we got some people that literally say, what, I would much rather, and I can go 100% remote, and we've done that. We've got 3 or 4 people that just went 100% remote. You check in and come in, and I think it's just helped us become a more fluent and a better business globally. Now, I think business owners and people are seeing that, okay, with the right people, you can get the same amount of work done and maybe not have to be so brick and mortar. And so obviously that's lowering your overhead and helping your margins. So as a business owner, I'm like, okay, well, this all makes sense as long as our productivity doesn't go down. I wholeheartedly see that companies are going to embrace it. I think the other side of it is, though, and I've always been preaching that whole snapback and rubber band syndrome of, okay, when does our society, even from a social media standpoint and technology standpoint, just snap back and say, okay, almost like we talked about the Air Force One. Okay, can we go back to the class? Can we just go back to, I want somebody to meet with me and sit down and shake my hand and do certain things. So I think it's going to be really the companies that have a blend of those, that really adapt and change. Okay, hey, we can meet the e-commerce, we can meet the e-customer where their need is at, but we also have that physical need for people that just say, what, no, I still want to just do business in a real type of way, physical type of way, and that's what we're trying to build our business for, to hit both platforms.
Moving with the time and the adaptability of a business is key during these times because nobody expected for a pandemic to hit and for the length of time. And our industry, we deal with different states, some municipalities, and then certain organizations, they work international, and they're all having to go through it. And these are all things that they're going to have to address. And these decisions that they make around the country, around the globe, it will impact policies that we put on the books, not only from your side of the house, but also with ours. I do think that it's something that they will keep up with and that it'll be a long-term play. I remember when we were younger, you discussed, working from home or telecommuting, and it was almost looked at as a scarlet letter because they thought, and this is just very old school thinking, if you're not sitting right there in that desk for 7 hours that you're not being productive, then, research and studies started to show, the more that you actually trust your clientele and trust your work and staff, they become more productive because you're giving them more opportunities to live their life. The work-life balance stays in harmony, less burnout, blah, 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 blah. Now, I know we've got age on us, but we've still lived around long enough to see that other curve of it, even before COVID. And now, like you just brought up, it seems like it's going to be more of the norm than what it was when we first got into the business.
I wholeheartedly agree, sir. But I want to put another caveat on what you said, because I 100% agree. Is that as a community, we have to see that as an opportunity and make ourselves available and ready. Because to me, what COVID has done from a work standpoint on the concept that we're talking about today has made the professional work environment more flat. And again, I'll use me for example. Whereas, okay, the pool of our hiring pre-COVID was pretty much all in the state of Nevada. Okay, we wanted to find people that could be here because we wanted them to come to the office and interact. Now, our HR person is making posts. Okay, if the right person is in Atlanta, if the right person is in Montana, because we have the systems and the technology in place, okay, that's not a barrier anymore. So to your point, regardless of age, gender, sexual orientation, color, or whatever the case may be, if the right person presents themselves, they can be wherever and we can bring them on board. And that's an amazing thing.
That's truth. It's giving everybody an equal opportunity, which in a lot of ways, that's what folks are asking for right now out in this environment.
I wholeheartedly agree, sir. But I also think we got to prepare ourselves for it, because what they say, chance favors a prepared mind.
That's
And
right.
I'm a firm believer that, you have to see these opportunities for what they are and just make sure that you're putting yourself out there to ensure that, okay, when this rebounds or when economy starts to take back off, or start to looking, like you say again, you make sure you put yourself at the table.
There's a quote that I remember hearing Russell Wilson bring up during his grind from being a third round draft pick to being the starter of the Seattle Seahawks. Is his old man had told him the separation's in the preparation. So in these moments, and it doesn't have to be a big, journal of what you're going to do, but at least somewhere in your mind, start putting those steps together of where you see yourself or where you think that you have an opportunity to be better. That being better doesn't immediately correlate to a dollar amount, but the likelihood is if you're a better person and you do better for others, that money part will find its way to adjust to show the blessings of what you're putting out there. Yeah, there's some evil, cynical people in the world that are sitting on a bank of money, but they're morally bankrupt and corrupt. I don't want to be in that path. I'd rather be on the path of doing what I best can for my household, my people, my community, and the folks around that think similar, and then let everything else kind of figure itself out. Because in the long run, that's how I'll be able to sleep better at night.
Man, come on. Peace is priceless.
And it takes age to be able to figure that part out. That piece is the one thing that's the most valuable to you.
Amen.
Mr. Branch, before I get up off this recording, I want to make sure, again, I appreciate you taking the time out. And I was glad, salute Stephanie to make sure she got this all squared away. She's always looked out for myself and my mom. So I appreciate her efforts when we need to get a hold of you. I just thought that it was important as we rebooted some of these newer episodes for the pod to get voices in the community, not only ours, but of the Black and brown communities, to discuss entrepreneurship, discuss their successes, what they've seen. Because as you brought up, nobody's going to do these things unless they see or hear that somebody's went through it and they have similar stories such as yours. So I appreciate the hell out of you doing that. If somebody wanted to come over and move their policies over right away, regardless where they're at in the country, how would they be able to get a hold of your team?
Oh, man, you can get a hold of us on our website, www.bbc-ins.com, or you can call us at 702-646-2082. Our physical office, if you happen to be driving by, is located on 4584 North Rancho Drive. That's in Las Vegas, Nevada, right down the street from Santa Fe Station. So we're on the northwest side of town, but we're on all the social media platforms. So we're on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter at Branch Benefits. So I definitely say, please contact us and check us out. But on the flip side, so I do want to sort of reverse that and say of you, man, how I don't want to say this as trying to be an old guy, but man, I truly am proud of the things and the success that you are seeing and you are experiencing that you have done, and even with this platform, sir, that you are using your voice in a good point. And I'll just say this, man, you have been a supporter and but also a motivator and an encourager for me. And like I said again, the times that we have been the only ones in the room, but knowing that we got to hold ourselves to a higher standard to make sure that we continue to bring others to the room. We'll continue to do that. I know for a fact we're aligned in that fight. So, sir, I'll just continue to pray success over you and your family as well. Man, I love your friendship and I appreciate you tremendously, sir.
We do it for a lot of things, but you also, it's a lot easier to do it when you know that you've got somebody, a brother in arms, that understands the plight of it. You've made this journey, how I'm getting through it, a lot easier because you do have a few years on me in industry knowledge, but in age, it's been tremendous to be able to pick your brain when I've been able to ask of you on it, and you've made sure that you've done that, and you continue to be a pillar of optimism and growth of our industry, not only in the city but across the country, because you got a seat at that table, man. So keep doing what you got to do to make sure that people understand that we've got some folks here that are talented enough to have conversations with. It's necessary.
Yes, sir. Wholeheartedly agree, man. Appreciate you.
Mr. Branch, until the next time we catch up, man, be safe out in those streets, all right?
All right, you do the same, man.
All right,
I'll
now.
talk to you soon.
Be well.